Hey everyone, so today we're going to go over the Microsoft CMA appeal. And we're going to break it down to layman's terms. So, we're not going to read this top part here, but if you want to read this top part here, there will be a link in the description. You can go right to this. You can read it yourself. We're going to break down the 5 grounds and the various parts of those grounds that this is being filed for. Ground 1. The respondent made fundamental errors in its assessment of the applicant's current position in cloud gaming services by failing to take account of constraints from native gaming, whereby gamers access games installed on their devices through a digital download or physical disc, undermining the SLC finding. So, what they're arguing here is that most gamers are just going to play the traditional way of gaming. Either you're going to download the game or you're going to have it on a disc, but then you'll have that game on your Switch, your PC, your Steam Deck, your Xbox, your PlayStation 5, whatever console you're gaming on. That's how you're going to be primarily gaming. You're not really going to be gaming on cloud. A. Its market definition analysis. The respondent failed to consider the potential switching to native gaming, resulting in a flawed conclusion that cloud gaming services fall into a separate market. What A means is that you're going to go in and you're going to play games the traditional way you've always played, and that even if you're playing cloud gaming, there's a good chance that when you get home, you're going to switch back to playing the traditional methods. B. Even on the respondent's erroneous narrow market definition, shots fired, the respondents failed to take into account relevant out-of-market constraints from native gaming in its competitive assessment of vertical foreclosure effects. So, what a vertical foreclosure effect is, in layman's terms, is there is a buyer and there's a seller. If one of those two disappears, the deal can't go through. What they're arguing here is you're more likely just to buy games how you've always bought games. You're not going to go to a cloud gaming service and drop another $70 on a game you already own. There's a very small market that is willing to do that. So most cloud streaming services are complementary. And you see this with the PC cloud streaming services where you have to buy the game through Steam or Epic, and then you can stream the game on your device because they will rent you the server. They're not, at least I believe right now, not directly selling the games, but they might be directly selling the games. Someone might be correct me on that in the comments. C. The respondent made fundamental errors in its calculation and assessment of market share data for cloud gaming services, and as a result, failed to take into account relevant considerations in its competitive analysis. If you remember the European Union saying the CMA counted all Game Pass users as cloud gaming users, this is what they're referring to. Microsoft is saying, hey, you counted all Game Pass users as cloud gaming users, and most of them do not use cloud gaming. So your basic analysis, the basis of your analysis rather, is fundamentally flawed and cannot be acted upon because it is inherently untrue. Ground 2. The respondent erred in failing to take proper account of 3 long-term commercial agreements which the applicant had entered into with cloud gaming providers for the licensing rights of it to stream its games, including Activision's gaming content post-merger, the agreements, and its assessment. Microsoft saying here, hey, you said this is a problem. We already offered a solution. Solutions were already underway. We were acting in good faith. The European Union's already agreed with us on this. They wanted more. We gave them more. That's all Ground 2 is basically saying. Ground 3, the respondent finding that Activision would have been likely to make its gaming content available on cloud gaming services absent of the merger was irrational and arrived in a procedural unfair manner. Activision does not have any games on cloud streaming. Activision has no plans to put their games on cloud streaming services. The CMA claimed that they were going to. There's no proof of this. Thus, the assessment that if Microsoft would have not bought them, that this would have happened is inherently untrue. Ground 4, the respondent's findings that the applicant would have the ability to incentive to foreclose rival cloud gaming services by withholding access to Activision's gaming content post-merger was unlawful. In particular, the respondent's analysis was affected by 4 errors, each of which, in isolation and separately and/or cumulatively, renders the findings and ability and incentive unlawful, irrational, and/or disproportionate. A. The respondent wrongly relied on evidence that the so-called AAA games would be important for the cloud gaming services to find that Activision games in particular would hold in such importance. In layman's terms, hey, you're claiming that AAA games are going to drive the cloud streaming market. That's not true. Cloud streaming is being driven by the service, not the products. As evident already that the cloud streaming service is already growing, albeit at a slow rate, without access to Activision's titles. B. The respondent failed to take account of relevant evidence regarding immediate losses from hypothetical foreclosure, which showed that the applicant would not have an incentive to withhold access to Activision games from cloud gaming rivals. We'd lose money. We don't want to lose money. We want the largest reach, so we're not going to do it. C. As said in ground 1 and 2, the respondent wrongly failed to take into account of irrelevant out-of-market constraints and the agreements. We made agreements. This problem's already on the path of being resolved. And the out-of-market constraints, I'm not familiar with what they're referring to here, but they're just saying, hey, that stuff there has no direct impact on the market, so it is irrelevant to the deal. Ground 5. In assessing remedial action for the SLC, the respondent, A, erred in law by proceeding on the basis that it had the duty to impose what is described as a comprehensive remedy, thus failing to consider a range of remedies and assess their benefits and detriments in the round. Okay. The European Union actively engaged with Microsoft and said, hey, we want these things. And then Microsoft said, okay, we will give you these things. The CMA and Microsoft went back and forth in filings, but they did not offer the same kind of comprehensive solutions the European Union did, which by their own mandate they should have. B. Unlawfully failed to take account the interests of comedy. Now, this is a shot across the bow because comedy has 2 definitions. So Microsoft is threatening the UK right here because the first definition is relevant to how the international community would perceive the United Kingdoms. So they're saying, hey, you didn't take into consideration that we just won't do business with you. That the tech company to make you the Silicon Valley of Europe will just not merge. The second definition is basically just being decent. So they're saying, hey, you're not being decent to us, which is unfair. It's a violation of your agreements, your mandates, and all that jazz. But I really like B because B is kind of straight up funny because it is, threat in a way that lawyers can threaten you without you ever being able to claim it's a threat. C. Erred in rejecting the Microsoft Cloud remedy, which rejection was in all the circumstances disproportionate, and D. Acted in breach of the respondent's common law duty of fairness and the CMA's own remedies guidance. All right, so you're probably wondering, common law? What? I was told common law is not real, that it's basically some sovereign movement nonsense. No, common law is the basis of law. So constitutional lawyers and those that like common law will make legal arguments from the common law perspective because a lot of times common law will override higher tier laws. So in certain cases, you can make an argument that, hey, yes, the UK government gave you these powers, but under the UK's legal framework, they didn't have the right to give you these powers, or that you cannot exercise these powers in the manner in which you are exercising them. And we can see that more in D, when they say, hey, your own guidance, your guidelines that you have set foot say you cannot act this way, and you are acting this way. This is a really big legal argument. They're arguing, see, at the basis of law, you cannot be doing what you're doing and that you are violating your own principle. Solid point. And then we go down to the bottom. The applicant seeks a following relief from the tribunal. 1. An order pursuant to Section 125A of the Act quashing the decision in its entirety. Basically, overturn your refusal to let us merge in this company. 2. An order that the respondent pays the applicant's cost of this application. Hey, we had to pay money to be able to file this. We want that money back. 3. Such further or other relief as the tribunal deems fit. Likely they're going to ask for the legal fees. Like, hey, we would not have had to engage in spending a lot of money on lawyers if the CMA had done its job properly. We firmly believe we should be compensated or reimbursed for our legal expenses. So that's the entirety of the document. From the layman's point of view, it looks pretty solid, but I'm not a lawyer, so I'm pretty sure some law tuber is going to cover this and will be able to give you way more insights into each part of this. I'm just giving it to you from a layman's perspective, and that's really all I have to say on this. Y'all have a great day. Bye.